We are back with this Fox News alert. Kim Jong-Un is in grave danger. Reports this morning the North Korean leader is in critical condition after heart surgery.
Rumors have been swirling about the North Korean dictator's health ever since he had a procedure and after he missed this celebration for his grandfather's birthday last week. Now those rumors are reportedly on the radar of U.S. intelligence agencies, Brian.
All right, he was last seen at a meeting 10 days ago. South Korea's government pushing back, saying it has not seen anything unusual out of the North. Fox sources say the White House is aware of the reports, but can't confirm his condition. Let's see if we can get the answer from Robert O'Brien, National Security Advisor. Robert, great to see you. Let me ask you, what could you tell us about Kim Jong-un? Do you believe South Korea there is no problem, or the rest of the world that there is?
Well, we're monitoring these reports very closely, and as you know, North Korea is a very closed society. There's not a free press there. They're parsimonious with the information that they provide about many things, including the health of Kim Jong-un. So we're monitoring those developments closely. People should know that we have a great intelligence community. The President, the Vice President, Secretary Pompeo, Secretary Esper, General Milley. We've got a lot of watchmen on the towers during this coronavirus crisis, making sure that America's safe, whether it's from the virus or from adversaries abroad. So we're keeping a close eye on developments in North Korea, as we are in other parts of the world.
Ambassador, could you tell us why the president decided to sign this executive order? He says he's going to temporarily suspend immigration.
Look, we're trying to do everything. The president's trying to do everything he can to put the health of the American people first during this crisis. And so this is one step. It's not dissimilar to the restrictions on travel from China that he implemented back on January 29th at the very outset of this public health crisis. We think that those restrictions saved thousands or tens of thousands of American lives. They were criticized by some at the time. One candidate, Vice President Biden, said that it was xenophobic. Nancy Pelosi introduced a bill to ban the bans. But the president's not going to be guided by politics here. He's going to be guided by the health, doing what's best for the health of the American people.
Sure. And Ambassador, of course, this is, just as the banner says below us, it is a temporary suspension of immigration. And we know that federal statute does give him the authority in cases of public health and things like that, although it is unprecedented. Back in the 1918 pandemic with the flu, I think the United States still allowed in 100,000 people. So we get the part about how it's trying to stem the tide of incoming infections. But at the same time, the president, in his tweet, Ambassador, made it clear that this is also about safeguarding American jobs, because there are so many people out of work right now, and they need jobs.
Well, this virus came to our shores from overseas, sadly, and not only has it affected the health and caused the death of many Americans, and our hearts and prayers go out to those who have family members who are sick or struggling, who've lost loved ones, and also, gosh, I was watching the interview that you did with Liam, raising money to help our first responders. Those are real heroes, the doctors, the nurses, the custodial staffs at these hospitals on the front line, keeping the hospitals clean and free from infection. They're doing a great job, but there's been an economic cost here, too, and the president's looking out for Americans on both fronts at every turn.
So obviously there's a big push to find out what China knew and why we still don't know everything about it. The president's saying we need to get in there and look around and find out where this all started, whether it was a Wuhan lab or whether it was actually in a wet market, which mysteriously has reopened. When the president complimented the president of China early, was it because he was under the illusion that he was getting all accurate and full and the full story about this virus? And does he regret those compliments that he threw at President Xi?
No, look, the president's always very complimentary in his dealings with foreign leaders. If the American people could be on the phone calls that he has with our adversaries and our friends, he's a real gentleman. He was the same way with President Xi, but he's been clear from the outset, we need to get the CDC into China. There's really a huge burden on China to tell us where this came from. Did it come from a lab? Did it come from a wet market? Neither of those are good answers, right? I mean, these wet markets are
but Robert,
a host of, have hosted plagues.
Robert, don't you believe it's not something that they're obligated to do, and they still haven't done it? And I'm just wondering, when are we going to get punitive with them, and why we just continue to put the analyst hat on and we don't get more aggressive with them to come clean once and for all?
Well, I think we're being pretty tough on China. And look, there are lawsuits that have been filed by folks out there. Some countries are looking at how to deal with China going forward. We certainly are. But remember, this is the fourth or fifth plague that's come out of China since 2000. We've had the avian flu, we had SARS, we had H1N1. And so whether these are coming out of labs that have sloppy procedures, whether they're coming out of the wet markets that are really horrific, if you watch some of those things, we've got to stop this. I mean, we've got to stop the export of these viruses from China. We're going to make our position, and we have made our position on these issues very clear to the Chinese. I think it's becoming a worldwide call now that China has to come forward with the information. I mean, if you take a look at how they've handled the virus, with whistleblowers disappearing and newsmen and women from the Wall Street Journal and New York Times being kicked out of the country, and you contrast that to how Taiwan or Singapore or other countries have handled this, there's just a real big disparity there, and we've got to get to the bottom of what happened.
Yeah, Ambassador, how do we do that? How do we hold China accountable when they're covering things up, they're getting rid of the whistleblowers? You know, we're not going to ever be able to get in that lab. They're not going to let us in there to find out what happened if it really did start there. How do you do this? How do you investigate China?
Well, we have a lot of tools in our toolkit, but one of the things I know, I think there are Americans that are, I understand there are lawsuits that are being filed here against China.
Yeah, class action.
We'll see how it all plays out. But with some of these trial lawyers, they're pretty dogged, and the Chinese have a lot of assets around the world. You know, we'll see what happens. But right now, what we're doing is calling on the Chinese to cooperate, and we want to get along with China. We have a trade deal. We'd like to get along with China, but China needs to behave in a fashion that makes them a responsible player in the world. And unfortunately, with the outset of this virus, it wasn't great, and they've got to fix that.
All right. Ambassador Robert O'Brien's got a great op-ed, the pages of the Wall Street Journal. Check it out if you get the paper or online. Sir, thank you very much for joining us from the North Lawn. Looks like a nice